It's really just that. Hello, my wondrous and beautiful friends. I have two things to say to preface this video. One, obviously, this whole virus situation is a great big mess, and we can't even probably fathom how far-reaching its effects are and what exactly it is affecting and in what ways. Well, I know that. We've talked about that. We know that. Two, anything could be announced at any time. Paper Mario Origami King proved that even when we're sitting around being like, what's coming out soon? I don't know, they better announce something soon. Nintendo can just drop a major game announcement just out of the blue, and it can come out a couple months later. That is absolutely true, and at any time, any moment, maybe even this very moment, right now while I'm recording this, Nintendo could make some sort of big announcement. They could drop a Direct Mini, like a traditional one, and reveal a bunch of new games for the rest of the year. Very, very possible. But at the moment, things feel weird. It is my job, my responsibility, to keep my finger on the pulse of the Nintendo community and to gab about stuff, to just yak about whatever. Like, basically, I mean, people, it's happened countless times. You know, why did you make a video about this? What's really the point? Well, if I have a strong opinion, if I'm feeling a strong way about something and it makes me want to talk about it with somebody, I go, why don't I just talk about it in a video? People like to hear me talk about stuff, so I do it, and people keep watching, so that's why we are here right now. The whole entire point of this video is just a lot of us are feeling kind of tense and confused about the whole Nintendo situation right now. It's just a weird place to be in. Obviously, it's been a very long time since a traditional Nintendo Direct. Last September was the last traditional Direct, and even then, even at that time, I was like, man, they must have a lot of stuff to announce for the next year. We don't know what's coming, and even then, they didn't really announce that much. Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered was like the one big announcement, and even that was just, it was great, but it was a remaster for an old game. We're like, where are the new Switch games coming? Then we waited a long time. In March, we got a mini, but then like that mini didn't even announce anything. It announced like the Clubhouse games, and like that's it. But like it mostly was just updates on old stuff, which again is fine in its own way. But we are like, what's going on though? What is going on at Nintendo? What might we be getting this year and even next year? Like Nintendo revealed Origami King out of the blue, and that was really cool. That would have made for a really good Direct. But the last time we did have a Direct with a major announcement, that was last June. That was a year ago. It's basically been a year since a big major Direct that had some big brand new first party announcements in it. Then obviously like this year, we don't know what's going on. Animal Crossing was really big. I will never downplay the importance of Animal Crossing. I mean, like, this year isn't even gonna be that bad, like overall. You know, I mean, like, I complained a lot more about 2018 when it was basically just like Smash and Pokemon Let's Go, and some DLC for other stuff. Good DLC, but like big major releases, it was just Smash and Pokemon, and that was at the end of the year. The whole rest of the year didn't really have a lot going for it. This year, we've already gotten Animal Crossing, massive deal, massive system seller, will probably go on to become the #1 or #2 best-selling Switch game overall, and then Origami King out of the blue. So like that's already two pretty major titles, but like those are done, and we know there's got to be something for the holidays, something for the second half of the year, and so we're all just getting kind of nervous about like, it's a weird time for Nintendo to be quiet. We'll go over that in a bit here, but like we do know that Nintendo has been having a hard time coping with the situation. We've talked about that before, had whole videos about it before, where here in America, we're a lot more used to teleworking, working from home. There's just not quite the same infrastructure in Japan, or at least at some companies or whatever. They don't all even have PCs at home. Sometimes they don't even have internet. So it's just, they're very traditional often and just want to work in an office. So they're having a hard time keeping up and adapting to this. And so that's why, you know, we can give them the benefit of the doubt there. And they themselves, they've been giving us some kind of mixed info. Like, the quotes keep going back and forth, and I've kind of like lost track of where we are. Sometimes Nintendo is saying, yeah, things might get delayed, which is like, obviously, yeah. But then Furukawa did that one quote saying like, the stuff that we have planned for this year has not been delayed. But then another thing came around, and it might have been like a retranslation that said things might get delayed. I'm losing track of it all. Basically, who even knows at this point? Obviously, yeah, like anything could get delayed, it's hard for anybody to say nothing will get delayed. We don't even know. So we get that. We are understanding that anything could be delayed. Maybe there won't even be a holiday title this year because they just can't make it happen. And that would be understandable. The weird thing is the silence. The silence is deafening. What we are looking for is more communication from Nintendo, because hearing nothing just makes me, at the very least, just makes me nervous. If Nintendo released a thing tomorrow and it said, hey everybody, Breath of the Wild 2 was gonna be a holiday title, and we've got maybe like, here, let's reveal another thing, and it was gonna be September, but we don't know if either of those are gonna go out in time. They might have to be delayed until next year. I'd be like, oh man, that's disappointing, but understandable, and now I'm happy that I know. Because the not knowing is what's driving me crazy right now. Because it's like, I know that development is impacted right now. It has been since, March. That's a pretty good chunk of the year. I don't know how much longer it's gonna go. I get that, but it's like, even in September, it felt like they had to have new stuff to reveal, and it's just all this time later. They were cooking stuff before all this happened. They had games in development before that point. They have to have stuff to announce at the very least, and it's really all I'm looking for here. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nintendo likes to say, we don't reveal stuff too long before release. Usually, there's a pretty hefty wait. Origami King was something of an exception. Some games have been exceptions, but very, very frequently, at least, they reveal a game and it's like a year plus before we get it in our hands. And if that's the case, then it's like, what is the stuff that you were working on that might be delayed, or the stuff for next year? We just need something to go off of here, because Origami King came out and now we're just like, I don't know. Bayonetta is clearly not coming anytime soon. Metroid Prime's not coming anytime soon. There's not much left to even look forward to. We want to know about Zelda. It's just a really weird time when everyone, you can always see the growing tension in the community. And that brings me to the subject of Nintendo's PR issues as of late. They seem to have a really hard time understanding when people are getting really, really, really anxious and figuring out how to deliver news to them that doesn't just make it worse. We've been having all these issues. They have that Treehouse presentation for Origami King, and that's great. And then they're like, oh, and Way Forward is gonna be there to reveal a new game in a franchise they haven't worked with before. That gets everyone going bonkers. Why would they put anything other than a first-party Nintendo game in the Treehouse? Why would they do that? So everyone's and then later they had to be like, it's a third party though. It's not Nintendo. But you didn't think that was gonna happen? You didn't think that was gonna happen? And then the most recent, the Direct mini partner showcase. Even that right there, I've complained about that in the roundup, how it's they worded it in such a way that to me, it looked like it's gonna be third-party games only. But there was still confusion. They didn't say third party, they said stuff from our development and publishing partners. That could mean Capcom is making an exclusive game for the Switch. That could mean any number of, that it could have meant that. I didn't take it that way, but so many people did. That's the problem Nintendo is having. And then of course, just the fact that we're all looking for a big direct with Nintendo stuff, and they're like, how about a series of little directs that's just third party? And it's it's not a bad idea, and in a different context, I can understand it completely, and I'm happy that it's there. It's, it's better than nothing. But it's still just weird. It's especially weird now, looking at those and being like, do you have so little to show that you have to break up all of your third-party announcements and give them their own direct minis? Does that just mean Nintendo themselves has just zero? Absolute zero? I don't really know. Why would they need to separate them that way? Why wouldn't they just wait and have a direct with all of those mini announcements in it, plus one or two Nintendo things? I don't know. And again, the silence is what's so weird and scary right now. You gotta have something, even if it's just Mario remasters, even if it's hey, Zelda was gonna come this year, but it's getting delayed. We were gonna do these Mario remasters as a nice little placeholder, if they're real. I don't even know at this point. Then where? They have to know that we're going crazy here. Even if they were not gonna come out until December 24th, this year, just so many months away, just knowing about it would be great. Everybody would be crazy about the announcement. They'd be so happy just to know. We're just in this place where we don't know, and it's very weird. And here's the thing. I understand that things are hard for a lot of different companies, but I'm seeing other companies, including other Japanese gaming companies, that are functioning properly. Like, yeah, things are a little bit weird, but they're still working on stuff. You know what I mean? Like, Microsoft and Sony are about to launch new consoles. That's a big deal. That's not even just a game. That's a massive, massive, massive thing. And it's been hard, and there have been some hurdles, but they're doing it. They are, so far, it looks like they're on track to release those consoles this year. So what's Nintendo doing? And then I talked about it in a recent news roundup, Gamescom. So many, just about every major gaming company is going to be at Gamescom. That includes a lot of Japanese ones that presumably have the same issues of working from home and stuff, but they're all going to be there. Sony's not going to be there, but at the same time, Sony has been really actively doing their own thing. They had this showcase, the big PS5 reveal showcase, and they revealed about 1 billion games, and like, they're doing something, and Microsoft is too. And that's what's funny is, like, and this, sorry if this is just like just a dig on Nintendo in general, but it's like, we get a Nintendo Direct and there's one good announcement or like one new game or even like 1 or 2 new games. We go, wow, that was a terrific Direct. Have you seen the Sony and Microsoft reveal events? They reveal brand new games in like major franchises and even brand new games in brand new franchises. Each of those presentations just revealed game after game after game after game. They're working. They're doing it. They have so much to show. So we look at Nintendo and it's just like, we don't have even a single thing. We don't have anything right now. The world is moving on. The game industry is functioning the way it's supposed to. So where's Nintendo? What are they doing right now? What's going on? And like like I said before, swing back around on this. Now is not a time for silence. It's just a bad time for it. We are going into a new console generation from the perspective of their rivals. We're not getting a new Nintendo. It's because they messed up the whole timing of the generation, but we're getting the Xbox, whatever it is, and the PS5. That's happening. And I know Nintendo isn't always a direct competitor for them because they're kind of hitting different markets. You know, they're, a big high-powered PS5 and a little Nintendo Switch for gaming on the go, Nintendo games. They're kind of different. There's a lot of crossover, spillover, as it were. They're not like Microsoft and Sony where they're doing basically the exact same thing and they're just fierce rivals, but they are rivals to an extent because they are all in the gaming space. They all have hardware they're pushing because especially going into a holiday season, everyone's a rival. Every gaming platform is a rival because not very many people can afford to get more than one thing. There's gonna be plenty of kids, plenty of people going into Christmas being like, what do I want? Do I want an Xbox whatever, or do I want a Nintendo Switch? And here's the thing, like, relevance is something you have to always fight for. Again, Animal Crossing was like the best thing Nintendo could have possibly done for the Switch. It put it on the radar even stronger than ever, and that's great. But even the greatest successes will only last so long. You have to always fight to keep that relevance, to keep people's eyes on you and your product and your lineup. And Animal Crossing was great, but that's already fading away. Obviously, there's still people playing it, the community's strong and everything, but for like eyeballs on Nintendo, that's fading away. Paper Mario was nice for a bit, but that's also kind of done. It's kind of fading away. Throughout the year, and I complain about this a lot, people are like, what do you want, a game every month? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I think like when you're a company and you rely so heavily on first-party titles, you need to put out a constant stream. Microsoft and Sony get the multiplats. They make all of their money on multiplats, so exclusives are only important in the way that it gets people to buy the systems, but like making money directly from the exclusives is not as important as it is for Nintendo. Nintendo lives and dies by its exclusives. And even then, Microsoft and Sony, they are outpacing Nintendo dramatically in terms of exclusive content. So Nintendo's in kind of a little bit of a pickle here. Like, the longer they go without some announcement or some kind of game to keep people interested, then that relevancy, that the eyes are gonna drift away from the Switch. It's not gonna kill the Switch, obviously. Again, anything could change at any time. It's just, for any amount of time, it's not good to have this weirdness, this weird thing where everybody's wondering what's happening, and we're just kind of like drifting away from there. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna kind of look elsewhere for a while. You know, even if we know it will be remedied, things will change, things will improve, Nintendo will reveal more games. It's just never fun to be in a situation like this, these weird, hanging, kind of limbo situations. And like, when fans are so ravenous for news and for new games and things, now is not the time to be completely silent. And whenever you do say something, to be weird about it with the PR, and it makes everybody go crazy, and then it raises expectations and ends up being weird. It's just not the time for that. Going into the next console generation, and just in general, it's not okay. It's uncomfortable. It's really just that. It's an uncomfortable situation to be in as a Nintendo fan. At the moment, things seem a little bleak. You know, just like, what is the outlook? It's mostly like, even if it is expected for there to be gaps like this and delayed games, again, it's that silence. That's what makes it feel extra bleak. Seeing these little partner showcases, but nothing Nintendo related, and just hearing nothing from them, that specifically is what makes it feel bad. Again, even if they came in and said, hey, Zelda's coming, it's getting delayed, something else is coming, it's getting delayed, or it's coming later this year, we're not gonna have as many games this year as we wanted, fine. The tension is broken, everyone completely understands, we can at least look forward to the stuff we know is coming, but when it's nothing but dead silence, that's when we wonder. Are things okay at Nintendo? Are they having a really hard time with this? Are they having a worse time with this than they want to admit? Are some games gonna get canceled, or is that, you know what I mean? Like, it makes the brain go nuts and go around in circles and start imagining the worst case scenario. But as with all things, this too shall pass, and as always, it's just video games at the end of the day. I can be nervous and disturbed and anxious about what is going on at Nintendo, what games I may or may not be able to play this year, but at the very least, I can tell myself, oh yeah, it's just video games. Doesn't matter that much, but hey, just video games won't stop me from at least blabbing about it a little bit, as long as people keep watching. And speaking of which, thank you for watching. What do you feel about this? Are you feeling nervous about Nintendo? Are you feeling like, I got such a crazy backlog, I don't even care. Who cares? Yeah, it's okay to go with like a half a year without Nintendo stuff. Nintendo will pull through, they'll announce something. Any second now, they're gonna announce something cool, and it'll be great. Or are you just huddling in the corner, just all is lost, all is doomed, all is ashes. Nintendo is going bankrupt and or third party. I'm in that latter camp, just kidding. It's a joke. It's not that bleak. Anyway, I will see you later. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I love you, and goodbye.